Anyway, now that we have our people that signed in and left, astaghfirullah. Um, how did we find our quiz or our end of module test? That's good. You felt that you prepared enough? You studying? Alhamdulillah. Um, you felt that you were prepared enough? You felt that the handouts and the things that were covered in class was okay? Okay. So today we're basically covering the cardiovascular system, okay? It's a very short module compared to the nervous system. So I brought something so that I can keep quiet for you guys. So I'm going to go through a small section, okay? We're just gonna cover the anatomy and the physiology of the heart, and then we're gonna work through the handouts that I'm going to give you. And again, we're kind of just going to work and have a look at all of those handouts so that we can do our self study. Okay. Um, I was actually very happy when I saw, or while you guys were doing the test, to see that you guys went along quite quickly. Most of you did extremely well. So it was the first time I saw you have a test done besides the midterms for English. So you guys actually study. Thank you. Gave me a lot of comfort. But anyway, I'll hand out the handouts. Not gonna lie, you guys are the funniest group. Hi, how are you? You staying? Okay. These days I have to make sure. There you go. Just take a minute or two, kind of just go through that. So while we're going through this, you have an idea of the type of questions. So if the information does come up, you can just kind of fill it in and you can make note of where to find that information when you go through it at a later stage, i.e., Wednesday night when you study for everything. So take 1 or 2 minutes, go through it, um, see the type of questions, identify the pathways, identify the terminology to look out for, certain. Okay. Hello. Hi. You can get a page over there if you don't want to. Okay. Um, let's go through this now. The introductions are pretty much the same. It basically tells you that in this module you will learn about medical terminology associated with the cardiovascular system. When you complete this module, you should be familiar with the terms that describe the anatomy and physiology of the cardiovascular system. You're going to need to know the disorders of the cardiovascular system, tests and procedures used to diagnose and treat pathological conditions of the cardiovascular system, okay? Again, in all of this, there's exercises embedded in it for you to complete to kind of just, there's small little checkpoints for you just to identify if what you know is what you know. Okay, and then let's go through the objectives. Again, the objective for all the modules are the same. It's just the terminology that changed. So you need to know and be able to name parts of the heart and associated blood vessels and their functions in the circulation of blood. You need to be able to trace the pathway of blood through the heart, identify and describe major pathologic conditions affecting the heart and blood vessels. You need to be able to define combining forms that relate to cardiovascular systems, describe important laboratory tests and clinical procedures. You need to be able to orally recognize cardiovascular terminology and apply your new knowledge to understand the medical terminology. Assalamu alaikum. Here we go. There's a page over there for you to take. Okay, so we're going to start out with the anatomy and the physiology. Okay. Again, I'm not going to read. I'm not going to read everything on it. I'm going to go through it swiftly, identify which section is discussing which part. We'll watch the videos and we'll refer back to the handouts for you to make your notes and go through to try and identify the correct parts. Okay. So, don't need to know the case study. Okay. When considering either of his two patients, Dr. Duac must have a solid understanding of the cardiovascular system. Okay, that's the embedded case study. The system consists of the heart and a closed network of blood valves that carry blood throughout the body. The cardiovascular system transports nutrients and oxygen to the cells to power the body's many functions. Okay, the blood vessels also carry carbon dioxide and waste products to the lungs and kidneys to be eliminated. Okay.
The cardiovascular system consists of blood vessels, and the heart. The cardiovascular system consists of blood vessels, and the heart. The pumping action of the heart moves blood through the blood vessels. Blood transports oxygen and nutrients to tissue cells and carries away metabolic wastes, including carbon dioxide. The two major types of blood vessels are arteries, which carry oxygenated blood away from the heart to the tissues, and veins, which carry deoxygenated blood from the tissues back to the heart. Arteries and veins form closed pathways or circuits within the body. Two main circuits are pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. In pulmonary circulation, the heart pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs, where it picks up oxygen and gives off carbon dioxide. The oxygenated blood returns to the heart, which then pumps it into systemic circulation, In systemic circulation, the heart pumps oxygenated blood into the aorta, which branches into arteries that enter tissues and organs. The blood delivers oxygen and picks up carbon dioxide. The deoxygenated blood enters veins which eventually drain into the inferior vena cava and the superior vena cava. These two large veins drain deoxygenated blood back into the heart.
Brief overview of the function of the heart and what actually happens and the processes that occur there, okay? Then we have the external view of the heart. I'm not going to read it because the video is going to say everything. I had a question in the previous class where they asked, it says the heart is approximately the size of a closed fist. It is almost 5 inches in length, approximately 3 inches. That is just a very vague description of what the heart physically looks like, okay? You don't really need to remember that information. That is just an idea for you to know a size comparison, okay? Other physical descriptions you might need to know.
The heart works like a pump, moving 1 to 7 gallons of blood through the body per minute. Inside the heart, 4 hollow chambers are responsible for this pumping action. The right and left atria are the 2 upper chambers. They receive blood from the body and the lungs and send it to the ventricles. The right and left ventricles are the 2 lower chambers. After receiving blood from the atria, they send it out to the lungs and the body. On the right side of the heart, the venae cavae send blood to the right atrium, which pumps it to the right ventricle. From there, blood moves into the pulmonary artery to the lungs. On the left side of the heart, pulmonary veins return blood from the lungs to the left atrium, which pumps it to the left ventricle. From there, it goes into the aorta, where it travels to the body.
Okay, so the last 2 slides was basically just a brief functionality of what the heart is, okay, with some of the terminology that you are going to need to remember, okay. In the handouts that I gave you now, there's not many there isn't any diagrams at all, okay. So this is only part 2 of it. I'll hand out the other section tomorrow, but again, I can ask you for the different parts of the heart, okay. This is obviously the frontal view and the view from the back. You will need to be able to describe the difference between the 2 views, what you see from the anterior view and what you see from the posterior view. Could be a potential question that I could ask you, okay. Then you need to know the terminology. We're just going to go through the anatomy of the heart. The other 2 sections on here you can kind of just go through on your own. Okay, the location of the heart, okay. Again, another potential diagram that could come in, okay. I could ask you any one of these terms as well. Could ask you to define the heart, the apex of the heart. Could tell you to define the location of where the heart is situated, okay, and therein is the terminology that you kind of need to go through as well. And then a quick just check, that is for you to use once you're going through and just assess yourself. And then we have the 4 chambers of the heart. Again, in this section, there's a lot of embedded videos, okay? So please read through it because, again, you need to know the spellings of it. You need to know the terminology. You can't just rely on listening. You actually need to physically read it. But for the sake of this lessons, it would be easier for me just to show you the videos so that you have a brief understanding.
The heart is a muscular organ, roughly the size and shape of your fist. With every beat, it pumps blood throughout the body. To do this, the heart uses 4 chambers: the right and left atria, and the right and left ventricles. Each chamber has its own exit, or valve. Blood leaving the right atrium travels through the tricuspid valve. Blood leaving the left atrium travels through the mitral or bicuspid valve. Blood leaving the right ventricle travels through the pulmonic valve. And blood leaving the left ventricle travels through the aortic valve. The valves work like tiny doors, opening and shutting in synchronization. This keeps blood moving forward through the heart and prevents it from flowing backward.
That's the interior anatomy of the heart, okay? So the 4 chambers that we have, okay? Something simple again. Could ask you, name me the 4 chambers of the heart. You would then mention what? Who can name me at least 2 quickly? We literally just read it and it is on the screen. It was on the screen. What are our 4 chambers that we have? We literally just listen to it. The left and right what? Sorry? Correct, okay. Pay attention, listen up. Then we have the open and closed valves, okay? What they look like. Again, I could ask you to distinguish between which one is open, which one is closed, or I could ask you to label me all the parts of the closed valves, open valves. You need to kind of just be able to do that, okay? We'll go through the heart valves.
The tricuspid valve and bicuspid or mitral valves are atrioventricular valves. The pulmonary and aortic valves are semilunar valves. The 2 sounds apparent when you listen to a heart are described as lub-dub. The closing of the heart valves produces these heart sounds. During atrial heart contraction, cardiac muscle in the atrial wall contracts, forcing blood through the atrioventricular valves and into the ventricles. During ventricular contraction, the atrioventricular valves close, and blood is forced out of the ventricles through the semilunar valves and into the arteries. The first sound, or lub, is caused by the vibration and abrupt closure of the atrioventricular valves as the ventricles contract. The second sound, or dub, is caused by the closing of the semilunar valves when the ventricles undergo relaxation.
Okay, I can ask you, what is the sound caused by the relaxation? Okay, dub. Okay, what is the sound caused by the contraction? Lub. Okay, anything. Very simple, very things that you might overlook, but that's just how simple it could potentially be. But then I could also ask you to, I could give you the physical drawing and I could tell you, label me every process within the drawing, okay? Like you'll see in the handouts by section B, I ask you to track the movement of blood starting out at the, starting out at the right atrium and ending with the aorta. Okay, so that is literally tracking it from the beginning towards the end. And there, I don't want you to tell me what happens. I just want you to tell me the part of the heart that it goes through once it leaves the one that you started out with. Okay. A lot of that you kinda all can remember from school. A lot of the students in the previous group literally filtered in from knowledge without actually going through this. So I'm not expecting that for you, but I'm just saying this part of the section, the cardiovascular system, was covered a lot in school. So that's why I'm also just going through it very quickly. Then another diagram that could come up, remember, a lot of the diagrams are different. They look different, but in essence, they are the same thing. Okay, the diagram we're looking at now is a bit different to the one we saw in the first slide, but you still then need to be able to label it. Pericardium, I won't really go through that. Then again, being able to name and label the layers of the heart. And then let's just listen to the review quickly. And then this is all I'm going to go through. I just wanted to go through the structure of the heart and all of that. You are going to go through now in order to answer the questions that I gave you. You are going to go through the other sections of this as well.
The cardiovascular system consists of the heart and vessels that transport blood throughout the body. The heart is located in the thoracic cavity, behind the sternum. It rests on the diaphragm and slightly left of the midline of the body. The lowest point of the heart is called the apex. The heart consists of 4 chambers: the atria in the upper part of the heart and the ventricles in the lower part of the heart. The atria are separated by the intraatrial septum, and the ventricles are separated by the interventricular septum. Heart valves connect the chambers of the heart and keep blood flowing in one direction. These valves are called the tricuspid valve and the bicuspid or mitral valve, together known as the atrioventricular valves, and the pulmonary valve and the aortic valve, together known as the semilunar valves. The heart wall consists of 3 layers. The inner layer is called the endocardium. The prefix endo means within. The muscular middle layer is called the myocardium. The outer layer is called the pericardium. The prefix peri means surrounding. The pericardium consists of 2 layers called the visceral pericardium and the parietal pericardium. The space between these 2 layers contains pericardial fluid, which acts as a lubricant.
Take the time now, use your devices, go through the next 2 in this section, and answer the questions. Okay, the questions are going to guide you where to look, what to go through, what you need to go through, and again, it's also going to give you an idea of how certain questions could be asked. Okay, it's rather simple. Like I said, I don't want to spend much time on this section. I'd rather have you go through it this way so that we don't prolong whatever it is that we are prolonging. You guys are going through it quite quickly as well, so still can't leave. خلاص I will be giving the answers tomorrow morning. again, I'm not going to post it on Moodle, so you either come and get the answers or you don't. Or you come up with an agreement, your friend goes and you take pictures and send it to them, also up to you. Like I said last week, whether you show, it's for your benefit, okay? It's kind of good just to check your knowledge and see where you are at. The fact that some people could answer all these questions in 5 minutes, mabruk. Since you guys kind of rushed through this and answered it all somewhat correctly, I still can't let you leave, but I'll let you know about what's happening tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow our focus will be on diagrams and our focus will be on abbreviations. Okay, so come, don't come, but please come. Like, come. Um, it's good for you kind of just to get to know the abbreviations, get to know the diagrams. Um, and then obviously you'll be getting the answers to this so you know whether you're right or wrong, or if you have any questions about this, that would be your time to do it, because tomorrow will be your last on the cardiovascular system. Okay? So it's also a good way for me to gauge where you guys are at. I will let you know tomorrow. What was it? Next week there's no class. Yeah, National Day. So, Madre.